Oh, hey there, folks. Don't mind me, just caught up in some literal world building. Yes, world building is exactly like working on a puzzle. Except the picture on the box is kind of hazy. Like, you can sort of make out what it's supposed to be, but the printer smeared the borders of the continent with the ocean, and I think that's a forest over there, or maybe it's a desert. No, that's not it. Wait, is that seriously a draft there? Huh. Then you're not really sure if you really wanted to work on a puzzle this big. 1,000 pieces sounded easy when you got started, and now with everything in front of you spilled out on the table, maybe we should have just stuck with that 100-piece one instead. Especially since you don't have all the pieces you thought you were supposed to have when you started, and now there's a couple 100,000 extra little pieces you need to squeeze in there somewhere. And I think these 2 pieces are supposed to fit here, but they're just a little bit off. It would be so easy to just take a pair of scissors and cut this one little detail out and say the hell with it. Okay, I'm good. What were we supposed to be talking about again? Right. The actual work that I've done this past month, not the mountain of metaphorical puzzle pieces in my brain. Alright then, let's get started. In our last episode, see the link below, we talked about the makeup of the universe my story takes place in and gave the homeworld a name, Pond World. We left off with a to-do list, which I think I have around here somewhere. Ah, here it is. We're supposed to start by talking about gas giant planets and what gives them their color, and make a final call on what colors the outer planets of the solar system are supposed to be. And I totally did that. Absolutely. Didn't put it off till I had to write this script or anything. Come on, Google, download faster. Lousy podcast internet. Turns out, I'm overthinking this. Me? Overthink? Never. Any astronomers out there who are watching probably know this and may be laughing right now. But you know what? I didn't know it. And now we're all going to learn something new. Here's the short version. Molecular composition isn't everything when it comes to planet and gas color. Other factors include pressure, temperature, state of matter, ionization, and more. Maybe me thinking it was just molecules was underthinking, not overthinking. Regardless, I really don't have to figure this out right now if I don't want to. Time for a new mantra. Is it plot relevant? I'm going to say pretty low chance of that right now. Instead, I'm just going to pick some colors. Starting with Schmoopiter, I'm going to go with green and purple clouds and a thin white ring on an axial tilt. For Lantern, a nice blue and gray. For a little extra spice, I'm going to add a great black spot. Make it look like the eye of space. That could start some good myths. Butt Joke will be a vibrant red base with swirling white and black clouds. Definitely not brown clouds. Poor Butt Joke. It really deserves some extra love, so let's put a big ring on it too. For Chippendale, I'm going to make one of them a simple icy yellow, and the smaller one will be a bit more on the brown side of things. Cool, all done with that now. With those details out of the way, let's narrow our scope down from a solar system to just a planet. Time to give Pond World some fixing up. But before we get to actually throwing down some land masses and oceans, I'm going to take a moment to talk about one of the tools I'll be using to actually make the world, and in this case, make the actual map of the world. For that, I'm going to introduce a new segment called Tool Time. What? That name's already taken. What do you mean it was a show in a show from the 90s? Who's even going to remember that? Okay, fine, I'll change it. Tool Talk. Probably also taken, but whatever. Disclaimer. You do not need specific tools to write or world build. Pencil and paper is really about all you need. But if you're like me, you may find certain purpose-built tools helpful to your process. In the spirit of sharing how I work, I'll talk about the tools I use and the ones I find useful. In no way, shape, or form is me using a tool, a call to action, or promotion for you to go out and buy it. I don't get kickbacks for anything I use, or any advertising deals. If I were to do in the future, I'll be very clear about it. These are just some of the things I like using, and they sometimes make my life easier. Do this information what you will. Today's tool is Wonderdraft. You can find it at the link here, and I'll post it down in the comments below. Hopefully that link still works by the time you see the video. Wonderdraft is all about making maps. From world-spanning maps to city maps, it covers just about everything. And it comes with a bunch of cool map filters you can throw on there to make it look as realistic or artistic as you like. Like the look of Lord of the Rings maps? They got you covered. After a little bit of a learning curve for where the tools are and what limitations the software has, it's pretty quick to get up and running. You can draw your own land masses, raise and lower the landscape, draw rivers that automatically meander, drop in mountains and roads, etc., etc. There's a lot in this program to play with, and I haven't even touched the city level stuff or some of the icon packs available. They also have several videos that walk you through the software, and you can find other creatives on YouTube that also use it and do tutorials. So are there any downsides? Well, yeah. First off, it's a paid program. As of now, there's no free trial, and it's $29.99 for the software. They also sell 2 additional art packs at $4.99 each. Now, I personally think that's a pretty reasonable price for something with this much functionality. We're also talking about a one-man development team here. I'm also a little biased as a software developer myself, and I think devs should get paid for their work if you're going to use it. That said, I am someone who likes to try something before I buy it, and I think it's only fair to point out that there's no free trial right now, and you have to pay to try it out in case money is a concern for you, which is totally reasonable. Paying for tools adds up quick, and we're not all that super wealthy duck all the way up in Duckburg who hosts his own show while swimming in a money bin. Easy Dee Dee, the 1% will get there someday. One more thing. This may just be my personal experience, but I also found on my Mac that the software started to run on the slow side once my maps started getting bigger and more detailed. It's not deal-breaking, but it is a slight annoyance. I assume this is also different depending on the hardware you're running, so your mileage may vary. Okay, enough tool talk. It's time to show you all what I've actually gotten done this month. Drum roll, please. Impressive, no? Okay, I know. Not really. Look, there's a reason this file's labeled as maptest.png on my computer. Also feels like a good time to slap this on here as a little reminder. Slight self-deprecation aside, I don't hate it. The land shapes aren't a bad starting point. They kind of look like they could fit together as a Pangea-like supercontinent at one time. Now, I did jump in and make some initial tweaks. Little things I think may play a role in the story going forward that require specific land features. Let's take a closer look. Whee! First is this sea area over here. Using Earth as my starting point, I thought it would be useful to have a section of the world with a big enclosed lake, sea, bay kind of area. Much like the Mediterranean Sea. Main difference here is that it's more narrow. I have an idea how to improve this, and we'll circle back to that in a bit. Next are these islands right here. I specifically added these as a possible stand-in for our British Isles. Time will tell if I follow through on the concept, but I wanted to give myself a set of islands, though tiny, could have a potential to make a big impact on the world. I shaped it in a way that it could easily be split into 2 halves, a la Scotland and England. Also added a little Ireland clone over here. Fingers crossed it works out better for you than the real Ireland, little buddy. Last noteworthy addition I made is this land bridge here between these 2 masses. You might be picking up on a theme here, as once again I wanted to copy part of the real world. In this case, the Isthmus of Panama, a place where a canal could be dug as a shortcut. To make it a little more interesting, I added this lake area in the middle that could serve as an alternate path. Maybe we can have a little conflict where we have competing canal companies fighting in this area. Who knows? But Dee Dee, where does the water supply for such a big lake come from? Quiet, you! Somewhere. From the rivers of just roll with it for the moment. Anyway, just giving myself a couple options to play with in the future. Okay, so I've got the landmass shapes kind of figured out, but this map looks kind of off. Not crazy about the positioning. Let's see what we can do with that. There we go, much better. Also changed the colors around the map a bit too. So, what did I change? Biggest difference, besides the obvious repositioning, is that I combined these 2 landmasses here into one big one. This helps give a better sense of balance between the left big landmass and the right one. It also allows me to center the continents more along the equator, whereas before they were too much to the north and south and would have had too much of their land covered in tundra, which is a little less interesting from a story standpoint. The next change I made was to move this island chain over here to the left of the left continent. Okay, time out. This is going to get confusing without some real names. As I mentioned in episode 2, ultimately the cultures of the world will come up with the names for their continents and islands and oceans and all that. But we need something now to make this easier. Let's go with Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta. Where were we? Right. Putting Beta left of Alpha. That's so much easier. The keen-eyed observer will also note that I added this small continent here as well. Felt like there was some empty space that needed something. I also added a new section of land on top of Alpha here to make it about the same height as Delta. It also allows me to play with this sea area a little more and add some more volume to it. There's some interesting choke points along here that could be fun for future civilizations to fight it out for control of the sea. I also moved this island into the middle and Gamma over to the right side of Delta, mostly because it looked like Gamma could fit into Delta's landmass here via plate tectonics. This last island chain also needed to be filled out a little more. I also added some bells and whistles to the map, like a grid system, latitudes, and a scale. Yes, in miles. Sorry rest of the world, I'm an American and my frame of reference is in miles. To give you and me a sense of perspective on the scale, I dropped in some references to our real world. Now this scale is an approximation, so treat it as the rough reference that it is. I set the scale based off the length of the United States. I knew I wanted the width of Delta to be about the same as the US, so that was my starting point. I also put in rough scaled versions of Europe, China, and Russia to help me get a sense of perspective for exactly how big the different sections of Pond World actually are. The last little piece I wanted to bring up is this island here, smack in the middle. There's a reason for this island being here, and it gets into the actual story. But you know what? We're kinda running out of time here. I may mean to keep these episodes around 10 to 15 minutes, and this is a key part of the story that I want to talk about. To give this the time it deserves, I'm going to be a bit of a tease and push it off to the next episode. My first cliffhanger! Wrap up time then. I got the basic physical outline of Pond World done. Let's bring up the checklist and see what we should get done for the next episode. Oh yeah, the mountains and rivers were supposed to go in this one. Well, let's go ahead and carry those forward. And we'll add, discuss the tantalizing secrets of Story Island as well. One last thing before we sign off. Wonderdraft has another little trick I'd like to share with you. This is pretty cool. Oh, that's nice. Let's get some epic space music going too. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff! This was done with an online tool called Planet Maker by Kevin Gill. I'll link to that and the Wonderdraft tutorial on how to use it in the links below. I'll leave you to admire it for now, and I'll see you next time.